Hey, everyone. So, we wanted to cover this before we started the podcast and just acknowledge that racing driver Delano and Hoff has died after an accident in the Formula Regional European Championship at Spa. Van Hoff was 18 and he was involved in a multi car collision in wet conditions during the final race of the weekend. The race was on Saturday and it was red flagged and did not restart. We just wanted to pay our respects to obviously to him and his family and wish them nothing but the best during this difficult time. With that, we will go ahead and start the podcast. Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Mario, and you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Joining me today is the one, the only, I said it the first time, right? So I'm going to say it again. The Glacier, Tasha.
You did.
Hey.
Hey, Mario.
Hi. I'm happy. I'm so happy to see you again. They got us back.
I know.
Are we like, is this like the band now?
We're
so
back
then
together.
When we get separated, we can say we're back together again?
Yeah, the band's back together.
Yes.
The Quali band.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. The post.
Oh, no. That's too close to something else. Let's, we'll workshop that.
Yeah, we'll keep the idea. Yeah, definitely. I agree. We'll come back with something though.
Yeah,
something totally appropriate.
Something
too.
different. Yeah.
So, Tasha and I are here to talk about basically what we've seen so far in the weekend for Austria GP. So far we've gone through one practice, then we went through qualifying, then a sprint shootout, and then a sprint. So we're going to talk a little bit about some general stuff and then also just hit on any important things we saw during that. Before we begin, as always, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to drop the 5 stars, make sure to download and listen. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. You can't hit that dislike because YouTube doesn't let you, but you wouldn't anyway. So why would we even want one there? And make sure to subscribe to the channel Quick Stop F1. With that, let's get into some of this.
Yeah.
Another sprint weekend, Tasha. How did you feel? I guess what were your takeaways in general today and yesterday? What do you like about the format so far?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I like the format. I feel like it's maybe, just like a necessary evil because obviously, the higher ups have said that we have to have these weekends. So here we are. So I'm absorbing them. I'm still not like that much of a fan of the sprint weekend just because I feel like it's just a lot, I feel like, I don't know, like I sometimes forget that we have a race on Sundays after we've experienced the sprint. And then of course, I don't know if it's just maybe the weather in Austria too with the rain, like something feels very grueling about watching like 2 or 3 days worth of like gray, overcast, rainy weather. Like I just want to take a nap. I want to curl in a blanket. Like I don't want, you know what I mean? So it's like
you don't want to drive 200 miles per hour around a track that you No, that's not what you want to do during rainy days.
No, I don't want to do any of that. I want to have some soup. I want to watch some movies. Yes. Yeah. So
Tasha.
Yes.
Top 2 soups
of all time. Okay.
For you.
Okay. For me, classic tomato basil soup because like I just feel like you really cannot go wrong. And then it's like chicken noodle or Italian wedding soup for like that 2 spot. Like I don't know.
Are you dipping stuff into the tomato basil one?
Oh, but then there's like pho and ramen, and I'm also like really a big fan.
No. Ramen and pho. I apologize to the ramen and pho community. I love them, but I don't technically call them I would call the first a soup. I just think pho and ramen are pho and ramen. This is my own culture. This is my own culture and stuff going on. I know they're soup-like, but like to me,
broth.
To me, like a broccoli cheddar soup and like a ramen is very different.
I think ramen's closer to soup than broccoli cheddar.
I think I'm actually super wrong.
I think you are too. Either way,
okay.
anything with the broth, I'm there. Like I'm a soup person. Like that is my whole personality trait. Like especially in the fall, that's all me. So
yeah, I'm a fan of broccoli cheddar and ramen. Something that's definitely I think that is the biggest problem with me with this format, and I
Hmm.
think a lot of people could probably relate. You just watch the sprint
Hmm.
shootout, or you just watch the sprint. If without checking, if I ask you about tomorrow's race grid
Hmm.
or how qualifying yesterday ended, do you remember?
No,
Like I don't.
it's too
I
much
have to
to.
immediately pull it up.
It,
I have to immediately pull it
yeah.
up. Too many grids, too many sets.
So many grids, so many qualies. Yeah, it's a lot. So, what did you think of Quali? Like, ha- what are your thoughts?
I gotta do this. I gotta do this off rip.
Or,
I will. I won't. I'll respect the format. That's Q2, so I won't say it.
hmm.
I thought qualifying. I thought qualifying was very normal, except for, and I think this happens often when you and I are on the podcast.
Hmm.
Weird performances by Checo and George,
Yeah.
but because I want to respect the format, I'm gonna say let's start with Q1 and say
Okay.
we lost Nick DeVries. Please, I hope nobody fell down from their chairs. I know this is super shocking,
Shocker.
super
Yeah.
rare. Like we are baffled here in the quick stop community. But Nick DeVries was out, Kevin Magnussen was out, Logan Sargent was out, Joe was out, and I believe he had something with his car,
Hmm.
and Yuki was out as well in Q1. And I will start with a very quick. I'm watching most of my F1 content on F1 TV.
Hmm.
And F1 TV is obsessed with every time Yuki raises his voice on radio.
Hmm.
Yuki's so angry. Yuki is such an angry, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, bro, just everybody's on boards, man.
Let him
Like
live. Yeah.
Max's on boards, Leclerc's on boards. People be mad sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why we always have to point at Yuki
Nitpick.
when. Like I don't get why they do that, and that doesn't
Yeah.
have much to do with qualify. But I needed to say this
Get that
about
off your
Yuki.
chest. I agree.
Thank you.
They
Thank
come for him way too much. Like, leave him alone.
I don't understand, and I don't understand why. And if Yuki actually has if this is an actual mental health thing that Yuki gets angry quickly or something like that, then we don't need to be talking about it in no broadcast or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's not necessary. I think there's times when the radio's being broadcast does make sense.
mhm.
You don't want to hear the drivers like coming at their team a certain way. Like they're definitely, but yeah, the way that Yuki's always painted as like he's like the most angry and like the most disrespectful or whatever on the radio. I'm like, there's definitely like if we're handing out prizes for that, he's not even in the top 3, I don't think. So,
Everybody's favorite driver you can pull up an onboard that
Yeah.
is angry or that is like a little bit too far, and that's just not too
Yeah.
far, like cancel wise, but like
Yeah.
everybody's been mad in a car sometimes, and I think I don't understand why we were harping on Yuki that way.
Okay.
So Q1,
Yeah.
I believe we had a red flag as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we started with the red flag from Bottas. Something was up with the car. He just kind of like spun out, and then it took a couple minutes for him to get going again. But in that time, they red flagged the session. So yeah, it was just kind of like an awkward start to Q1. And then from there, it just kept getting more awkward because everybody's track times kept getting deleted. So that I think was the main like takeaway from this session.
Yeah.
I mean, people were putting in great laps, and 2 seconds later, it was like, oh nope, didn't count. Like, keep it in between the lines, basically. And it was just a real hard task, I think, for a lot of the drivers this weekend. So
I don't know. Not sure what was the number at the end, but I am 100% sure that at one point it was like 42.
Yeah, it was like in the 40s.
In the 40s, laps
Yeah.
deleted.
There was like a 2-page spreadsheet of all the names and all the track times that got deleted. It was very, very like painful to see that.
They haven't said that, but on Monday we're gonna
Yeah.
actually have the deleted time set the grid, and we're gonna have another race, the race that never was.
Okay, that's a good idea. That that could work. We'll work on that. We'll call Stefano and be like, we have an idea.
We've got
Hear us
this.
out. Yeah.
Look, just give me like all these tries that you've got. You give us all these tries for sprint weekends.
Yeah.
You give us that many weekends, we'll come up with something. Easy. So anything else about Q1? And remember, everybody at home, Q1, like qualifying for the race that's tomorrow on Sunday, is what we're talking about because so many qualifying. So anything else with Q1?
No, I mean, well, Checo got out of Q1 for the first time in a while. So that was good for him.
Why do you have to say it like that? No,
I
I'm
mean,
kidding.
I'm just trying to give him, his little props. But Alex again made it into Q2. Like, it's just like, just, I think it kind of was the norm. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't too surprising. I think the people who got out in Q1, they're kind of the names that we always sort of see toward the bottom anyway. So yeah, I feel like Q1 wasn't really too surprising, but I think the biggest thing was definitely the track times or the track limits just being like such a nag for everybody because they were really struggling to to get these cars, in between the lines. So yeah.
At that point, it's got to be a track thing. Like if every driver is complaining
Skill
about
issue.
the same thing, I think everybody got track limits.
Everybody did, yeah.
So is everybody unskilled, or is that circuit need redesigning? Circuit track.
I mean, I think many things can be true at once. So
this is why we need you around.
Many truths,
this is why. There's. My gosh, you were created in a lab, weren't you?
Was I?
Nyasha and Tandy definitely created you in a lab. Look, let's talk about Q2 because that's where the spicy good stuff is. There's some dude by the name of Sergio Basura Perez at 15th. We've got our boy Valtteri 14th, Oscar 13, Esteban, and George.
Oh, George.
Oh, George. So I don't want to do the guy like that, but if I were hypothetically to go on Excel and make a chart that goes from moment that George said he was faster than Lewis and project his performance from there, I will take it. Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take an educated guess and say that curve would go from here to downward because, oh my God, that, and comment is a comment, whatever, but you know.
Yeah.
And hey, I'll be the first one to say Checo 4 weekends in a row, no Q3. So, hey, trash. Okay. Trash. But Russell, what do you think about that? Do you think he cursed himself? Do you believe in that? Do you think he jinxed it?
I don't know if jinx is the right word. I think when it comes to Russell, here's what I think. I think that he talks too much. And I've said this way, a few times before, but his problem is that he talks too much. He does not yet possess the skill to back up his mouth, right? Like he is writing checks with his mouth that his ass cannot cash. And that is the thing with him. He was never on Lewis's level, like at any point. Even last season when Lewis was doing all of the testing and he was taking all of the glory for, finishing ahead of him, like I feel like he's always known in the back of his head that the timer is running out on him being able to be ahead, quote unquote, of Lewis. And so now what we're seeing whether it's the head-to-head of them qualifying, whether it's the head-to-head of the point spread between them, Lewis is gonna just keep carving out this lead over George. And so again, people should be hyping themselves up. There's nothing wrong with an athlete being like, I'm great. But when you start comparing yourself to people who you don't hold a candle to, number one, it opens you up to criticism that you don't need in your young career.
You've never had. He's never been the bad guy.
Yeah, he's never been the bad guy. But this is my thing with a lot of F1 and a lot of like the hyperbole a lot of the times gets these drivers in trouble because it makes people even more critical. If George had just said, I think I'm fast, no one would be looking at him under a microscope, comparing him now to Lewis and having such a high level of criticism toward him. And I can name a few other drivers that's similar to as well. It's like when you start giving these drivers these premature accolades and this premature hype and they don't live up to it, it just opens them up to everybody calling them a fraud. You know what I mean? Or like really just like sort of like keeping that pressure on them to perform. And I don't think that's the kind of pressure you need against somebody like Lewis Hamilton, who's like very consistent. You know what I mean? Like Lewis takes pressure and like, transmutes it into different energy. And I feel like sometimes these drivers take pressure and it like crushes them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's what you're seeing with George. So it's going to be very interesting at the very end of the season, when I feel like you're going to have an even further gap between them, what that excuse is going to be or what that explanation is going to be, because it's going to become a lot more apparent, and it has always, if you've really been paying attention to them and their rivalry that's been created, you should always have seen that it's only ever been Lewis, ahead of George, and George is just talking
Yep.
out of his ass. So
I can't add anything to that perfect statement. The only thing I'll say is there were 18 other people you could have been talking shit on. I don't know why you're talking shit. 18? 19? 18. 18. They're
18.
like, why are you talking shit? Why are you, why?
Well, they did ask him.
You call from inside.
They asked him, they were like, are you faster than Lewis? And if it was me, I would have tried to be like, I think I'm fast. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's PR professional. He should have spun that answer.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what one of the things that you mentioned, the bringing that unwanted, maybe unnecessary, maybe uncalled for hate towards you is something that I think George has never been through. The putting foot in mouth so bad that they're gonna like, because it's like you said at the end of the season. We could have talked about how great Lewis and George did, but now it's gonna have okay, but look at how much better Lewis did than George,
right?
And that was literally, he brought it upon himself.
So he was out.
Yeah.
Perez out. I mean, these lap time deletions really was like the story. Again, I feel like Q2 was just kind of standard. I mean, to bring it back, like I do feel like it was just pretty like standard. But yeah, the track limits were just really getting them out of here. I mean, Perez
something
was
that Checo
told,
failed to do.
Yeah, Perez was told over the radio. They told him the turn that he needed to improve on, and he just couldn't do it. So I mean, Max had some lap times leaded, and same thing. He was given that feedback, and he was able to correct himself. So I think to your point, you made a couple of episodes ago, which is like, Q1, Q2 is not the time to be doing like heroic shit. Like just get the lap time that you need and get into Q3. And I think this is just one of those times where he could have probably let up a little bit or adjusted himself a little to make sure that he got into Q3. Because like you said, this is the fourth time in a row
he doesn't go to Q3.
Connect 4 that he has not gone to Q3. That's
no, this is the opposite of Connect 4.
Yeah, right.
The thing is, the last thing, like they also told Checo on the radio, you need to put in a banker lap.
Yes.
Because in these conditions, you need to put in a lap that sets you somewhere.
Just get
so
safe,
then you can mess around and find out.
Exactly.
But he wasn't even able to put in a banker lap, and that I think that it is telling to a skill or focus issue.
Yeah.
Because the car's there, my guy. The car is there. Sheesh.
Just doing too much.
So to round out Q3, we have the grid for tomorrow. Max, Charles, and Carlos Sainz are starting at the top 3. What are your thoughts on Ferrari? I think
they look pretty fast.
I was a little surprised to see them, right?
Yeah, they look fast. I'm excited for them. Yeah. I mean, like I want to see what the upgrades and everything has done for them. But their car looks solid. I will say Charles looks very focused lately. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I mean, he, of course, Max got pole, but Charles tried to put in, a real fast lap similar. I think he missed out by like 48 thousandths of a second or something like that to be in P2. So he missed pole by a hair, a literal hair. So I'm excited to see what the start of tomorrow looks like for that. And yeah, the Ferraris look really fast. McLaren looks fast. Norris was up there in P4 as well.
Yep.
And I mean, I think we talked about this last time as well with the McLaren. Like, I think over 1 lap pace, they definitely have improved a lot. Race pace is something where I'm still like kind of questioning, like, can they keep up? Can they stay in the mix? So it'll be something to look forward to. I know at least at the start, I'm pretty sure Lewis will jump him. So I'm not really too worried about the McLaren for us. But Lando might give some other people on the grid some problems. So we'll see.
Yeah, looking at the starting grid and therefore how qualify ended, super
Yeah.
cool for Ferrari to be up there, like you said.
Hmm.
Lando fourth, Lewis fifth. Lewis is going to eat that up. Maybe Sainz as well, like pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, this was cool. Yeah. So we mentioned before before we started recording that Lance Stroll out qualified Alonso,
Hmm.
which is the second time he does that. And then I guess love to see Albon in the top 10
Yeah.
and
Poor
we can
Alex.
yeah.
Another lap time deletion that like really screwed him over because he had a
Yeah.
really great lap and then it was just gone. So that's why he's in 10. What do you think about the Astons? I feel like they've been a little off pace this weekend, I guess. Especially for Alonso
Alonso's,
saying, we're going to get podiums every week. I feel like you're kind of off the mark.
yeah.
This might, I mean,
Alonso feels slower.
yeah, something's up. Like, it's just interesting to me that all of a sudden, like, Lance is out qualifying him and, like, he just seems quiet.
Not thinking,
he seems quiet.
You're not thinking daddy sent the email.
I hope not. I mean, he might have. He's like, stop embarrassing my son.
Soon? Like, please make it at least make it a little bit cool for my boy.
Right.
Oh no. Okay. Any final words? And we'll do the predictions at the end, which is a little wonky, but still.
Yeah.
Any last words about qualifying before we move on to sprint shootout?
No, I feel like, it was as straightforward as you can get. And that's pretty much all we can say about that. Yeah.
All right. So before we go into the sprint shootout and the sprint results and our predictions, we're going to cut out to a quick ad. Please stay here. Don't go. Please don't go. We're back. Okay. So Tasha, let's go and look at the sprint shootout, which the sprint shootout is what sets the grid for the sprint that happens a few hours after that. This day today has nothing to do with yesterday or tomorrow.
Right.
Yes, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, totally makes perfect sense.
Okay, so let's do this similar to what we did last time. I'm just going to give you the first 5 that we lost, etc., and then we can talk about what we saw. So for the sprint qualifying or sprint shootout in Q1, we lost Logan. I keep forgetting to warn people to sit down and brace themselves before I say these names. I'm sorry. We lost Logan, Valtteri. Okay, for this one, I am really sorry. Lewis, Oscar, and Joe. Tasha.
Why you gotta ask
comments
me?
on anyone on that list? Any comments on anyone in particular from that list? Anybody just jumps out
why
to
are you throwing Why are you throwing it to me?
I didn't plan this.
Yeah. I mean, I think, shame about Joe,
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Joe, but shit, total. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I will add, man, so predictable, Logan, but sucks for Piastri, huh?
Yeah.
Also, Valtteri, hate to see it. Now you have one. I think I think we have one left, Tasha.
Do we? Oh,
yeah. I think there's one more
Lewis
driver
Hamilton. That would be P18 for him. Not a good quali session for him. The same story from earlier. We're having issues with track times getting deleted. I will say Lewis was, he did have some really good pace over Q1 or SQ1, I should say. And then as, the track evolution was like kind of gearing up, he just wasn't able to put in that last lap due to traffic and specifically due to Max Verstappen impeding him without a penalty or even investigation.
There wasn't any investigation thing, right? Not even, right?
There was nothing. Yeah. He just straight up impeded him. Apparently this was retaliation for a turn or something sooner. Lewis might have been in his way. I'm not sure. It's like so hard to even articulate, I think, just like how annoying it is to like have an athlete like Max who's like in a dominant car, like setting fastest laps on like 4-year-old tires, basically, feeling the need to impede drivers who are like slower than him. You know what I mean? Like just get out of the way. Like, I don't understand the need to always like retaliate and get back at people. And this goes to that whole, this whole narrative that they're trying to paint of like Max as this newly mature driver. And it's just like, we can only say that because he's clear off down the road. But
Yeah.
the minute he needs to exercise any amount of restraint, he's just like so unable to do it. He can never be the bigger person. And it's just once again, just like it just goes in my Rolodex of like reasons why like I'll just like never be able to like fully get behind him, because it's just like you don't need to do that. You're a champion, you know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah.
supposed to be the face of the sport. You need to like have better standards for yourself. And other and also people around you, like there was no need to mess up somebody's lap who probably would have gotten like P5 or P6. Do you know what I'm saying? Or like nowhere near you. So yeah, that kind of irked me. I feel like it was interesting seeing switching gears. It was interesting seeing
See, switching
Did you
gears
hear
because that car just switched gears as it passed by.
I live
That
at a
was
motor
amazing.
speedway. Yeah. But yeah, it was
Actually,
interesting.
take down the wall behind you. I'm actually in
You knock it
Austria.
down. Yeah.
I'm actually in Austria, guys. Like, the time difference is crazy, though.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was thinking like it's interesting seeing the Ferrari. It was like, in the garage for most of Science Ferrari was mostly in the garage for the first session, and like
Mhm.
barely got him out in time. And like Science put in a great lap to save himself. And that's when I was like, oh, I think the Ferraris really they're cooking this
Have
weekend.
something. Have
Yeah,
something
they're
there.
they're
Yeah,
cooking
yeah,
this
yeah.
weekend. So yeah, I was like, that's kind of cool to see. um, what else did we have? The Williams both looked really fast. Logan didn't
You don't have
do
to. You don't have
as
to include
great.
Logan.
Yeah. But the cars both look strong, I will say. So I thought that was like
Yeah.
a good indication for them. I'm not sure if they both have the upgrades on yet. I know
This week, yeah, I believe last weekend it was not last
was
weekend.
just
Sorry,
Alex.
last race it
Yeah.
was just Alex,
Mhm.
and this race both of them have it.
Got it. Okay. So maybe that's why it looked a little spicier today. So I thought that was
Mhm.
kind of nice. And yeah, once again, laps deleted. So yeah. What about Q2? What did you think?
Well, in Q2 we lost. I'm gonna do that one. I promise. We lost George, Nick DeVries, Yuki, Gasly, and Albon.
Mm-hmm.
My guy Russell. You and me. You and me. You and me, Russell. You and me, Russell. You and me. Georgie. Like Tasha mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Like Tasha mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
You talk a lot, and then things start happening, and then I'm gonna start saying like, okay, you had an issue with your car, but to me that's his karma. This is my last episode on the podcast. They're gonna throw
me. See yourself out. You're good. You're
no,
done.
Really,
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah. George, I'm really curious how George will do tomorrow, just because of how crappy he's had of a weekend, which I think every driver has a crappy weekend sometimes.
You know what? I will say, I feel like George, if anybody's going to be able to recover, it's George. Like that's I really do like him. I think he's a strong driver, and I think like he loves a challenge. And unfortunately, his quali for the race is not putting him in the best position. But I feel like if anybody can like recover from that, it's him. Like he has shown at least a few times that he's able to kind of make up points and keep the team, because the constructors is still very much at play with them and Aston. So I do see him really trying hard to get out of the bottom. We'll see.
Yeah. And then very similar stories, I think, to qualifying, where we had like you mentioned earlier, the Ferraris did well. Again, we had the Aston Martins next to each other at 7 and 8. One person that I think we already talked a little bit about Lando doing really well here, so that's cool. But Senor Nico Hulkenberg, what?
Yeah.
Look at him go. Look at Nico go. So inspiring.
Yeah.
Wait, let me see Kevin Magnussen. He also did really well, right? No.
They both ended up in the top. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah. Sprint shootout.
Yeah.
Kevin Magnussen qualified SQ whatever 10th.
Yeah.
Nico 4th.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go into the sprint. Or do we have anything else to say about the shootout?
Let's see. SQ3, we had Checo P2, which I felt like was kind of like a little redemption arc for him, mini redemption arc,
You're too nice to him now.
You know, whatever. I have a soft spot for Checo. It's fine.
I do
It's
too, but
fine.
he's so bad. He's so bad.
He is. I know. You really have to like.
He's so
You really have to like.
bad right now. What is wrong with him? Where is his head?
The bar for Checo for me is like in hell. So anything that he does that's even just like an inch over it, I'm like, you're doing great, sweetie. Like,
I love that. I love that for Checo. Look,
Yeah.
did you watch Ocean's 11?
I did. I love Ocean's 11.
I love Ocean's 11. So here's the thing. There's a scene with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. They're talking to a third person. I forget their name. But the point is that George Clooney makes a remark about someone who betrayed them. And George Clooney says a comment like, he shook Sinatra's hand. Like shaking Sinatra's hand was a big deal to them. And like somebody who shakes Sinatra's hand would never do something bad. Okay, Mara, why are you saying this? Because... Checo shook Bad Bunny's hand. Checo was in the same car as Bad Bunny. You can't just start failing after Bad Bunny is in your car, bro.
Right.
I was supposed to make up this. I was going to be the guy who creates a narrative.
Right.
Once you shake Bad Bunny's hands, that's all you're going to find is success. And then Checo's like the first case of not happening.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad is all I'm saying. But if Bad Bunny wants to come over and shake our hand, we'll be great.
Maybe Checo needs to revive Sinatra and then he can shake his hand and then maybe we can see if maybe that will help.
That's literally more viable. I think that's more possible than him beating Max this season.
Oh, no, that's not happening. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so sad.
He's beating himself currently. So no, that it's not. He doesn't have time to beat Max. He's beating himself.
That's bars. Let's sprint into the sprint. I'm gonna get fired with all these puns. So we had our little sprint, and then do you want to talk about this in general? Give a little bit of. We can go through some bullets. How do you want to go dig into this one?
I mean, okay. So what were your overall thoughts on the sprint? Like, how did you feel about it overall? And then maybe we can do some bullet points. You thought it was fine?
It's fine. I think I will be. I should have checked this beforehand, but I thought about it too soon to the podcast. I will be very disappointed if I go check all of like sprint results and compare them to race results. And if I see those two be very, very similar a lot of times, then I'll be disappointed and make my decision that these sprints are kind of janky.
Yeah.
In general, it was fine. I felt if we, and I think we can agree, like, if there wasn't this interest with the weather and the changing of the tires, I think this would have been terrible.
Yeah. I mean, but for me, I feel like that's what gave it a little bit of flavor, at least, you know, like the starting on inters, Valtteri started on mediums, I guess, because, you know.
How did that go for him, Tasha?
Not great, because after on the formation lap, he went straight into the pits. I mean, I guess that's the risk you can kind of take when you're starting last anyway, so you can kind of like feel it out on the formation. He was like, "Nope, let me go put on inters."
This was a mistake. I wish my mistakes were so obvious that you could immediately know. Yeah, no, this is bad.
Yeah, this is not a good idea. Yeah, so starting on slicks was not great. But yeah, I thought I did think it was funny seeing Max and Checo go to wheel for the first time this season. That was kind of a highlight for me, because we kind of get to see now why they don't let them go at it. Because not even a lap in, they were basically about to take each other out. So
Checo got first for a little bit.
And Checo got Max off the line. So Checo had the better start. Max basically positions his car to try to they were like in the pit lane, basically cutting him off to try to get to turn one. So, you know, they kind of just traded pushing each other off the track until finally Max got ahead. And this is why I always say this is also my Rolodex. I'm like, this man is not good wheel to wheel. He proves it every single time somebody is close. Like, he cannot do it. He can't fathom just, you know, living to see another lap type of thing. You know, let somebody pass you. You have a rocket ship. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even without DRS, because DRS was not enabled. We're on inters. It's raining. But, you know, that car has the type of speed that he doesn't need to get in these entanglements and turns. Like it just is not worth it.
I think Verstappen is an amazing driver, an incredible driver, 10-10 driver. I think he's aware of everything.
Yeah, he knows.
The
sure.
problem is that he's so fucking petty
and short-sighted
and entitled that he knows. No one can tell me, and I could be wrong, but no one can tell me that Max doesn't know exactly where Checo is at all times.
Absolutely.
But you can definitely convince me that Max thinks he's so entitled, like that Max is entitled enough to think, I am Max Verstappen, therefore this is where I go, and that's where Checo goes.
Right.
That I will believe 10 out of 10 times.
Absolutely.
But that dude is aware of everything that's happening, just like all these drivers are aware of everything that's happening. It's when they bring their feelings and their personalities into the driving that's like, it's petty. You used a great word earlier about Max when you use the word retaliate. No athlete should be retaliating. That's what we have the
Especially
FIA for.
Like, come on,
That's
man.
why we have governing bodies for. You don't need to retaliate on track.
Yeah.
And if you think, which sucks because he thinks it, and it's true because it paid off today. If you think you're above that, then you have a problem within yourself. But like at the same time, they let the dude do it because we didn't get any like anything.
So that's he exhausts me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But some other good battles that we had, I feel like, before we skip to that, I thought it was kind of interesting that Nico scooted his way up to P2. So as Max and Checo are battling it out, Nico like sneaks in there and he holds the position for quite a while before.
He held it. Yeah. He held it legit. He defended
like,
legitimately, which was great. Oh, you guys were coming too? We didn't even know. What? You should have told me beforehand.
So that was fun. I thought, both Haas looked pretty scrappy today. Lewis and George, I think did great. They started pretty low on the grid and both made up like a shit ton of places at the beginning. They were P12 and P13, like a half a lap in or something like that. I'm not really sure how that happened. I'd have to go back and rewatch, but I still thought it was kind of cool that they made up all those places. Especially because, Lewis and I had a feeling coming into this. I think Lewis mentioned like in a post-race interview yesterday or earlier today. See, I'm getting my days confused now. Earlier, after the shootout, he was basically saying, how he was just going to like have a little fun in the back, basically, because, he's starting such a low position. So it was kind of cool seeing them push a little bit and have different battles. I thought, I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought there was like some good action. What about you?
I want to make sure because there's so many different sessions. Is the sprint was when Stroll had the radio telling the team, tell Alonso to not fight.
Yeah.
That was during the sprint, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he was basically trying to hold on.
Thoughts on that?
I don't know how to read Aston Martin dynamic at all. Like, I just don't understand the team dynamic. I mean, it's like, I feel like I have an inkling of what's going on, right? Yeah. But I still don't understand really what's happening with that team. Like, Alonso is an amazing driver. He has already in his head, like I said earlier, talked about the fact that he thinks the car can get podiums every weekend. Yeah. And I feel like he's not pushing. And I don't know if it's just because he's like, it's sprint and it's just quali, like he's just saving it for the race. I'm not sure. But then, yes, you have like Lance who's in front of him. And to be fair, they did have a little battle toward the end. I think the last couple laps, they were like kind of going at it a little bit, but not really. So it just feels very like, I don't know what's going on. Like they're in their own little like
Alonso
world.
was kind of like poking at him.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way at all, but like it wasn't so much as a fight because you could see, which is the right thing to do. Like Alonso wasn't willing to risk much.
Yeah, he wanted
because
to get
it was
points.
Lance.
Yeah,
exactly. So it makes sense for Alonso and everything. It's weird, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier. It almost feels like Alonso has been a little irrelevant this weekend in general.
Yeah, or just like very reserved. So I mean, again, it could be just that he's saving the best for the race. It's very possible for that, but yeah, it just throughout the all the qualies. I just felt like he kind of was getting lost in. Yeah, I wasn't really seeing him top the leaderboard or anything like that, so it was just sort of like easy to kind of miss any performances that he had. What did you think about the Leclerc and Ocon battle that they were having for a few laps?
I don't remember that one.
No? They were
No.
scrapping it out for a while. Like,
Really?
yeah. I mean, it was a good little battle. I mean, again, I feel like there was quite a few. So there was like
Yeah.
Ocon, Leclerc, and I think Norris was in that pack, and would occasionally like make some moves. You had like kind of Lewis and George were straggling behind, and it was just kind of like that like little pack in the middle that I
Yeah.
was really
The midfield.
that midfield, yeah. So that was like kind of fun to watch, like because
Mhm.
I think sometimes in the sprint, at a certain point in the race, the drivers start to just think about bringing the car home, and they're not really taking like
Yeah.
a ton of risks and doing anything like too crazy. So it was nice to actually get some action. And I think the best part was what was like lap 16. George decides, it's time for softs, time for slicks because the track has dried up by now. And that sets off a chain reaction of other people pitting because basically they see his lap times are actually the best on track. I think he was getting like fastest laps.
He said
At that
something.
point.
I'm sorry. He said something. Oh my gosh.
What did he
said something
say?
when he was interviewed afterwards. like something like, yeah, when I changed tires, it triggered a change reaction. I didn't know everybody would follow the leader that way. And
Oh,
he spoke about himself in a way where it was like great. Like he made a great decision. And it's one of
yeah.
those cases where it's like, come on, Georgie.
He's high off his own supply. Like that's all I can say about George. Like he loves himself. Like I wish I loved anything as much as George Russell loves himself. Like that is the truth. But he wasn't wrong. It did set off a chain reaction, and it was interesting seeing all the different tire choices. Some people had mediums, some people stayed on inters, but mainly a lot of people changed for softs, so that gave them a huge advantage on track. And yeah, we got some more battles after that. DRS was finally enabled in like lap 17 of 24 laps. So I'm like, this really is like a sprint because you're trying to like make up all these places. And so it did get exciting. It did get exciting toward the end, I will say. And it was fun seeing Alex battle with Lewis for a little bit. That was pretty fun.
Get that man on a better car.
Because that Williams is so good in a straight line. And so, Lewis had to kind of be selective of like how and where he would overtake his car. So that was kind of good to watch. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I feel like it was pretty good to the end. And then you had Russell was able to grab like the last point of the sprint. So
at the very end, too.
And then Nico also got points for Haas. So I was like, this is pretty cool, like to see some of these like lower teams like getting points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially Nico. I just really do feel like he's been having a good season, kind of like Alex Albon in a sense, like maybe not like exactly parallel, but it is interesting seeing these two teams who struggle a lot to get points, being able to like continually be in this conversation, continually reach, Q3 in these very inferior cars and, get points for the team. So yeah, I think that's fun to see. And like how a driver like Nico with the slower car is able to defend, how Alex is able to defend in a slower car. It's really interesting to watch.
It makes you think of these, at least for Alex, like it makes you think that he's got it in him. Like that he could be
100%.
Like I am so inside. Like I got myself a condo in Alex Albon Island. Like I love that guy. I love the guy.
Like it's a community village at this point. I think a lot of people are like
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just like he uses his brain very well.
Absolutely.
He brings his brain into the whole thing,
Yep.
Gotta love it. Okay, let's do predictions.
Okay.
But instead of doing top three, I'm just gonna ask you some questions based on the grid.
Oh.
You're gonna tell me, and it'll be prediction questions.
Okay.
Okay, because I think Max is probably gonna win. Yada yada.
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and Lewis Hamilton. Those are your first four after Max. So Charles, Carlos, Lando, Lewis. Who's gonna finish higher out of those four? Charles, Carlos, Lando, Lewis. You can order them even if you want to get crazy with it.
I want to say, in my heart, I want to say,
in the heart of hearts.
my heart, I want to say Lewis. I feel like it's going to be between Lewis and Charles. to be honest. I just feel like that Ferrari, one of the two Ferraris is going to be a problem for us, just because they're really fast. And I think that their car really suits this track. But again, I don't know what the Mercedes situation is like, the setup situation is like for the race. They do always tend to be more prepared for the race than for Quali. So, it's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, I have a feeling it'll be between the two. So it'll either be like Max, Lewis, Charles, Max, Charles, Lewis. Like, I feel like something up there.
Charles Lewis podium.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty boy podium, yeah.
In sixth and seventh place, we have Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
And you can change the question if you want. I'm going to ask it a little spicy, and you can change it if you want. How many laps will it take Fernando Alonso to overtake Lance Stroll? If you think it won't happen, that's perfectly fine. We can change it.
They're starting together on the grid?
Together on the grid. Lance 6, Alonso 7.
I think Alonso will take him at the start. And if not, by the time DRS is enabled, like, I don't see Lance keeping a lead over Alonso. Like, I think he was like keeping it cute for Quali, you know what I mean? And for the sprint, he was like, you can have this. Like, Sunday is all me. You know what I mean? Like, you can keep this. This means nothing to me.
You can play with this toy. You can play with this toy, but I'm gonna drive the big thing tomorrow.
Right.
Okay?
Like, the adults are in the room on Sunday, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think on the start he'll get jumped, and then hopefully, if not by maybe like lap 2 or lap 3. We'll see.
I like it.
Yeah.
One more question. We have George Russell at 11th. Checo is 15th. Who better race position at the end of the race? Who finishes the race higher? Not numbers or anything, just higher in general.
I think historically the answer to that is going to be George, because I really, like I said, I think when he's challenged, to recover, he does it. Yeah. Like the last race, the fact that George lost places and gained more places than Checo was able to do. You know what I mean? Like the whole race.
Yeah.
Like, man lost places and then gained more places than Checo was able to do. It was interesting. That's sick. So in a slower car, all this stuff. So yeah, if history means anything, it'll be George who ends higher than Checo. If Checo has any sort of self-respect and dignity, he will fucking hustle. Okay, like, fuck history.
Thank you.
You need to hustle. Like, this is one of those things. It's like, for your dignity. Okay, this is for you. Okay, take a little pride. He needs to finish like much higher. Like, really, honestly, he should probably podium. There's 3 DRS zones on this track. There should be more than enough time. There's like 74 laps. There's more than enough time for him to get up to a podium.
If he makes a mistake, he doesn't finish that race. I don't know what else we can say at that point. Like, that's like a complete fall off. Fall off is
that's it. I mean, that's it.
Speaking of things that are it, I think So
what a segue.
Thank you very much if you're still watching. Thank you if you're still listening. Remember, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to the Quick Stop F1 channel for videos like this. We also have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to merch, where you can get access to ad-free experiences and videos that only come out on Patreon. Remember to leave us reviews on Apple and Spotify. 5 stars. Make a good review. Make it funny. We'll read it. Nyasha and Tandia will read it during the main show. But yeah, I've been Mario. You can find me on Twitter, and I gotta say this though. Please, this is the first and last time I'm gonna beg. Please follow me on Instagram. Mario, why? Because now that Ryan Reynolds, Michael B. Jordan, and LeBron James are in an investment group for Alpine, I am technically by like 10 steps away from them. So I need to climb those steps and maybe get like LeBron to be like, yo, what's up? And I'll be like, all right, I'm done. See? Bucket list over. Sorry. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mario_APM. Tasha, where can the people find you?
You can find me at the Glossier or on Twitter at Tasha, and we'll have everything spelled for you in the description. I am not an investor in Alpine or anywhere close
Yet.
to that. But
Yet.
yeah, I like Mario's idea. Let's build. Let's build, people.
LeBron. Even you, Michael B. Just
He might respond to you. You never know.
Join us. All right, Tasha, take us away, please.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quick Stop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.